Hey guys, welcome back to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a very funky, interesting build for you guys. And today we're going to be taking a look at Tank Corki in the top lane. Now, this might sound troll at first, but I'm just going to say it right at the start of the video. I do the most damage on my team building this tank build. So I'm going to explain to you guys, or it is not maybe not tank, but bruiser kind of build. So I'm going to kind of explain to you guys how it works and why it works, and then I'm going to talk about how I tested it a little bit more in the gameplay and what it's all about. So really this build is quite straightforward. So basically with this build you're just building items that are just really good for Corki in general, and they are a little bit more tanky, give you more tanky stats. And since Corki is so like overtuned at the moment, his base stats are so insane, he does a lot of damage even with a like tanky bruisery build. Right, so let's get straight into it. So first off, as your first item, you want to go for Iceborne Gauntlet. Now what Iceborne Gauntlet does and why you have to rush it as a first item is basically for the mana. Right, so Corki of course has really bad mana, right? So you need this item for the mana, but everything else is great as well. 250 health makes you tankier, 50 armor, tankier, 30 ability haste, insane for Corki, because Corki of course relies on slinging his spells, so you want that ability haste. And then you have the Spellblade passive, so same logic as why you built Triforce on Corki. In between your spells you can auto, and then you prompt the Spellblade for extra damage, and in this case a slow field as well. Then, second time you're going to go into Black Cleaver. So Black Cleaver, once again, all the stats you want, right? 400 max health, even more tanky. 20 ability haste, again, you want ability haste. And then you have 40 AD. So of course, Corki scales insanely well with AD, so 40 AD is amazing. And then you get the Sunder passive to shred enemy's armor. Now remember, he already shreds armor on his E, so with the Black Cleaver plus his E, he's going to shred a ton of armor, and that's why this build kind of works. Even though you're building tank, you shred so much of the enemy's armor that you're making up the damage you lose in terms of not building damage, and then you get extra movement speed as well. So for the boots, you always want to go for defensive boots. Now ideally, you want to go for armor boots, because armor boots is going to scale with Iceborne Gauntlet. Is going to give you more damage because of building more armor, but you can also go for Merc Trends if you want, and you want to go for Gargoyles. Now Gargoyles of course is a very insane item that gives you a huge shield scales off of your bonus HP, and if you notice, your last 3 items don't give you HP. So normally the order I build in is I like to build the first 2 items first and then complete my gargoyles after that with boots, either before my first item or after my first item, depending on the situation. Right, so next up you want to go for Maw. So Maw gives you again more ability haste, gives you magic resist, and gives you 55 AD as well. So we've already gotten the health from the first 2 items as well as the stone plate, right? We've also gotten armor from our first item, so now we got the magic resist. So 45 magic resist, 55 AD. So once again, even though you're not building crit or you're not building like your normal Triforce and Mana Moon, you are still getting 40 AD from Black Cleaver, 55 AD from Maw, and you are still going to do a lot of damage while being very tanky. And then to make yourself even more tanky, now you have a lot of tanky stats, right? You have health, you have armor, you have magic resist. Now what's better to go for than a twin guard? So a twin guard of course gives you 60 of each resistance and boosts the resistances you have to make you insanely tanky. Honestly, when you hit twin guard, you're going to do so much damage and be so tanky, it's going to be insane. Now last item here, I like to go for anti-heal, so I like to go for more reminder, for more armor penetration, grievous wounds, and the like, right? You could also go for the bruiser version of it, which is of course this one, the Kempang Chainsword, but yeah, you could also go for that one if you want, but it's kind of a little bit of personal preference there. So for the runes, you're already tanky enough, so you're not going to go for a very tanky keystone. You're actually going to go for Conquer, which is going to give you AD and Omnivamp, which of course stacks very easily because you're going to be in long fights since you are very tanky, right? And then you're going to go for the full Resolve tree, Nullifying Orb for the extra shield, very helpful in the early game, Bone Playing, of course preventing the burst, and Overgrowth just to gain even more health over the course of the game. Now here I think the best default option is Giant Slayer, because in general you'll be playing against tanks in top lane and enemy team always is kind of tanky, so Giant Slayer is good here. But if you're playing against a not very tanky team, you can afford to go for Alacrity, because with this build the one thing you have none of is attack speed. So if you can go for Alacrity for attack speed here, it's going to be amazing as well. But again, generally Giant Slayer is the best. So for the runes in the top lane, you want to go for Flash, and then you can, it's basically the same as the ADC runes, right? You can really go for anything actually. You could go for Barrier Exhaust, you could go for Cleanse, you could even go for Ignite if you want more kill pressure in the top lane, right? So it's really up to you, right? So with all that said, let's take a look at the spicy gameplay. Okay guys, so let's take a look at the gameplay. So the first thing I want to cover is how did this build even come about, right? So personally, I think I would like to say I invented this build because I have not seen anybody in terms of my opponents in the game or any other content creators ever going for tank Corki. So I think that I came up with this build. At least if I didn't copy anybody for sure. I kind of just theory crafted it myself and did extensive testing, right? So initially I was thinking that this build might be better in the jungle. So initially I started off when I got out of field jungle, I played Corki in the jungle and then I built this build, and I kind of found that it really, okay, it was fine, like it was fine, but it wasn't really that good, because at the end of the day, playing an ADC in the jungle is just not really good. It's like, you know, when you have those kale jungles, or even if you play like Kaisa or Vayne jungle, it's just not really that good. Even though I'm not building full damage, I'm building tanks, so I'm not getting one shot. I just didn't really like the feeling of him in the jungle. So then whenever I got top lane, I started playing tank Corki like what you see here. So I got this idea from the fact that Corki is insanely OP and a little bit like Varus, right? So the main reason why tank Varus works is because number one, his numbers are OP, number two, his W, right, the percent health damage. Now Corki does not have the percent health damage, thing. He only really has insane numbers. So with Varus, like, you build things like Heartsteel, for example, but if you notice with Corki, I'm not building Heartsteel, so I'm building items that benefit Corki a ton, right? Of course, you guys know the mana, ability haste from the Iceborne Gauntlet, and then really, even though we're building a tank build, we do have 40 AD from Black Cleaver, we do have 55 AD from Maul, so really you can still take advantage of that insane scaling and the really insane stats that Corki has, as well as being very, very tanky at the same time. So with that in mind, building all the items that benefit Corki, as well as of course being tanky and doing damage at the same time, I decided to test this build extensively, right? So as I mentioned, I tested it a lot in the jungle. I found that the build worked, right? Even in the jungle, there was games I was doing top damage or second top damage while tanking a lot of damage. So I knew that this build had legs. I knew it made sense, right? But I didn't think that the build made sense in the jungle, because I think in the jungle you benefit a lot more from having a full-on tank that can engage, or even a bruiser who can engage. Like, think about your engaged bruisers like Vi or Jarvan, or just taking a full-on tank like Rammus, for example, would be better. A traditional jungler, because the main issue with Corki is he has no CC, so his ganks rely on his lanes having CC, and to CC them for you, and then you can go in for a gank. So of course mid lane you really want a damage carry, so even if you're playing AD Corki mid, you want a damage carry. You don't want a tank. Obviously playing Corki in the ADC role, you need AD damage. You don't want to be playing tank Corki in the ADC role, as not Jarvan, as Xin Zhao comes in for a very beautiful gank here and gets us the kill onto the Vladimir. So the only kind of role that this made sense in was top. So really it started off with me thinking this build would be very good, which it was, and then thinking which lane would it best be suited to. So after testing in the jungle, and of course eliminating support, mid lane, and ADC, it's between top and jungle, right? I tested in the jungle, it was good but not great. So then I realized after testing it in top that this is very suitable for the top lane, and especially for someone like me who can't really play top laners very well. I mean, yeah, I could play Garen or Malphite, I guess, but those are very boring to play, right? And I didn't want to troll my team by playing an ADC in the top lane. I don't want to be playing like Zeri top, Kalista top, Tristana top, and building full damage and then ruining my team comp, which of course I hate when I'm the ADC and I have a top laner who's basically an ADC. So I decide to build the tank Corki so I can basically still tank for my team, at the same time do damage, and at the same time have fun, right? So that's really the main reason why I invented this build and why I tested it so much, and now I'm sharing it with you guys. I think I've been really excited to make this video because this has been a couple of weeks in the making, ever since Corki got the rework. Pretty much from when Corki got the rework, I pretty much tested this build just slightly after that, maybe a week after the Corki rework. I started testing this tank build, and it's been like, I don't know, over a month or so. So I've been playing this build a lot, but I haven't really been able to post this build because I haven't really tested it enough to really say that it's good, and also I didn't really have a good gameplay for it. So really this is the game where I can kind of show off how it works, and why I think this game is particularly good is because you will see both the pros and cons of this build. I'm not gonna roll over any team. This is not gonna be a stomp of a game. It's gonna be a close game, So you guys can kind of see how it works. So here Xin Zhao comes in for another gank. I'm trying to trade into the Vladimir. Of course, Vladimir has an extra safety tool, and here Vladimir really low. Xin Zhao gets him. Here is where disaster occurs, right? Because Pantheon comes in, basically flashes on top of me and kills me on the tower, which I honestly should have expected, but I didn't. So I give him a free kill for no good reason, and that's just not very good. However, as I mentioned, this is going to be a game where we can see both the pros and cons of Corki, so it's not a one-sided stopper. You can see how the tank Corki, really works and why it's really good. And as I mentioned at the start of the video, keep in mind this entire time that despite the fact that a lot of times with tank Corki, it looks like you're not doing a lot of damage. It looks like you're not doing very much. However, we do end up doing the top damage in our entire team. So we did more damage than our Echo, who was flaming us the whole game, by the way, of course, because he has a Corki in the top lane, right? So he's flaming me the whole game. I do more damage than him. I do more damage than the Lucian, my literal ADC who's building full damage. Just think about that, right? That's insane. Like, how is a tank Corki doing more damage than an ADC and a mage, right? So here, I aggressively jump onto the Vladimir. I get the package. Yeah, honestly, between me and Vladimir, the fight is kind of very close. In this game, I decided to go for Merc Treads so that I can take more aggressive trades, because if I don't have Merc Treads, the Vladimir is going to be doing a lot more damage to me. So having those Merc Treads there is going to be very beneficial. I have the 4 stacks of the package. Vladimir is trying to take the Scorpions. I'm taking the opportunity to get free damage on him. He pops the W already. So since he has no W, I'm dashing on top of his face. A little bit of poorly aimed Q and ulti there. If I had hit those, maybe I could have actually killed him here. He's 1 HP. I thought I got the kill with that auto, but his ultimate procs and gives him the heal. Now, I'm trying to kill him again. I missed my Q because I thought he was going to backstab, but he ended up walking forward. We're now both 1 HP. And I'm not really going to take the risk of fighting him. Lux tries to ult me, but I managed to dash away. I'm not really that close to getting ulted. Vladimir now is eventually going to get the Scorpion because I decide to reset and not take the risk of fighting him at low HP. So now I get the reset. I have my Iceborne Gauntlet now. He is 0 and 2, but he is ahead of in goal compared to me despite being 0 and 2. He does have 2 assists. So he did get tower plates and stuff like that, right? So here, once again, I'm trying to run in. I know he still has the pool, but I have to dash on him, right? Because I can't just be letting him walk away, right? His face rush procs, and unfortunately, here I tried to predict the Pantheon stun and cleanse predictively, but Pantheon actually holds the stun for a half a second, and I end up cleansing nothing and then getting stunned and then dying. So I'm now 1-2-1. As I said, it's not going to be a perfect game. I am kind of a little bit behind already. I'm 1k goal behind the Vladimir, who has no kills, by the way. So that's kind of how behind I really am. And my team as a whole is like 5k goal behind. My team is not really doing well. Xin Zhao's behind Pantheon. I'm behind Vladimir. Echo is slightly ahead of the Lux, and Lucian is 2k gold down on Kalista, who's running over the game, right? So of course I'm in the top lane. I haven't really run into Kalista and Blitzcrank just yet, but already just based on how the announcer is announcing Kalista's name non-stop, Kalista's getting a bunch of kills, and it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge to deal with her later on in the game. Of course, a fed Kalista is very hard to deal with. A Kalista who's not fed, not too hard to deal with in general, depending on the champion that you're playing against her. But I'm already sensing a little bit of imminent danger. So now my tower is gone, right? So Vladimir has rotated out of my lane into the mid lane. So here I could have gone for the tower here, but I decided to try to rotate. Now Vladimir is, not Vladimir, Pantheon is on top of me. Now I'm in the intense 1v1 against the Vladimir, and here I'm honestly thinking I can win this 1v1, right? And unfortunately it comes down to the wire, it comes down to 1 HP, but unfortunately without my summoner spells I can't quite outplay him. In fact, he still had flash, so really I don't think I could have really killed him there. If I had flash, I think I could have, because I could flash to get a little bit of distance and then kite him out or run him down. But because I'm basically melee range with him the entire time, I'm not really able to get the kill on him. And also because I have Merc Treads, if I had Steel Cap, I think I maybe could have gotten the kill. So a lot of things, a lot of small minute changes could have gotten me the kill, but really I end up not getting it, and it is what it is. Now I'm 1-3-1. Now here I'm trying to put a stop to Kalista and Blitzcrank pushing. So here I'm just trying to whack the Kalista. Unfortunately, Blitzcrank comes right over here, and I end up taking a lot of damage. Now Kalista and I both are 1 HP, but I honestly should have died here, I think, but I barely survived the Ignite on basically 1 HP. I'm nearly 1-4-1 after that play. So now, yeah, you can see I'm really behind. But you will see, because of how behind I am, how good Tank Corki actually is. Because imagine if I can do this when I'm behind, imagine when I'm ahead what I can do. I have had games where I get super fed on Tank Corki. Now I will say that, honestly I think this is a bit funny. But I kind of think that Tank Corki is actually better when you're even or behind. And if you're ahead, actually I think damage Corki makes a lot more sense. Although I wouldn't want to play damage Corki in the top lane, as I said, because it's going to ruin the team comp completely. But I actually think, ironically, kind of the best place for Tank Corki is when you're even, or even a little bit behind. I kind of think Tank Corki is a little bit more lackluster when you're ahead, because it kind of feels like I'm so ahead, but I'm not doing very much damage. And when you're behind, it's sort of like I'm behind, but I'm still doing so much damage, kind of thing. If you guys kind of understand what I'm trying to say. So here we get into a pretty big fight. I'm just trying to play backline, but now Kallista's on me. I have to flash away, and I survive on 1 HP once again. Now, of course, needless to say, if I was not Tank Corki, if I was Damage Corki, I would not have survived this encounter. I definitely would have just straight up died to the Kallista there. And in fact, I survived on 1 HP like I think about 3 times this game already. Obviously, if I'm Damage Corki, I would never have survived those encounters. So here now the enemy team is really getting in our faces. We are 10k gold down the enemy team. So it's gonna be a challenge. It's gonna be a challenge of a game. Put it that way. Xin Zhao is, I don't know what he's doing. He's flashing in on the enemy team that's 10k go up on us. He's completely cut out of position, and now I'm trying to position myself in a place that I can help him. So I dash forward, I kill the Pantheon. I get hooked in, but I pop my QSS to kite back. Now Lucian is pelting them with poke from his ultimate, and we've gone a pick on Pantheon. I think that is good enough. We've got a little bit of money in the bank. And now my team, I don't know, they shouldn't really be playing so aggressively. Now I see a huge wave in top. I really want that wave, but you can see I'm waiting for it to push in because I'm not sure where the enemies are, so I don't want to walk up further than I have to. So here I'm just checking the bush to make sure no one is in there. Then I'm going to go ahead and farm the wave. Of course, like damage Corki, as tank Corki, you of course do want gold to get your items. Callista is now coming. Now, because Callista is clearing the wave, right? Initially, I was going to bat, right? But since Callista is clearing the wave, means the wave is going to push all the way into where I am, which means that I can cancel my recall, pick up another wave for free without having to overextend for it, and then I can just recall afterwards. So one thing you will notice with Tank Corki is you do need to use your spells on the wave a lot to clear it, because your auto attacks don't do so much damage since you're building tank. So you need to use your E, your Q, and your ulti onto the wave to, of course, deal damage to the wave and clear it. So a little bit worse wave clear with this build. So a huge fight is breaking out on 2 fronts. So first off, we have Echo getting picked off, and then we have Pantheon who's trying to pick Xin Zhao, but fails. And now it looks like a fight is going to occur. Blitzcrank is running at our faces. Now here we're playing classic front to back, while being in range to shred people down with our armor. So here you can see we're getting them really low. They're all completely shredded, and unfortunately we can't survive under tower to complete the kills. And both Vladimir as well as I believe that was Blitzcrank both live on 1 HP, and we aren't able to pick up our package, and our package ends up going to waste. So definitely a little bit of an unfortunate exchange there. Could have gone a lot better for us, but yeah, at this point it's like sort of like a little bit of hope has been lost, right? We're 10k gold down. I'm not doing particularly well, although I wouldn't say I'm doing particularly bad either. I mean, 2-4 and 2 is not a insane KDA, but in terms of actual gameplay and the state of the game, I actually feel this game is super winnable, right? Because I know what I can do. I know that Echo, scales insanely well. Xin Zhao is in a pretty decent spot. Callista will fall off eventually. Pantheon will fall off eventually. And Vladimir also is an insane scaler. I mean, I'm honestly in the enemy team, I'm most scared of Vladimir because he's fed and he scales insanely well. But I think the game is completely winnable just judging by how the enemy team has played. Like some games the enemy team plays really well and you kind of feel like you really have no chance, right? But in this case, I really think we do have a chance. So I know they're doing Baron. I ward over the wall. And I'm waiting for my team to come over. Like, come on, guys, they're doing Baron. Get over here. Get over here. Finally, my entire team comes, and they're only 2-man Baron, right? So Pantheon goes on 1 HP. He dies. We steal the Baron. We kill Pantheon, and we kill the Callista. And this is the turning point of the game. The enemy team completely throw the game. Like, why are they 2-man Baroning, right? So here now, the entire enemy team now comes, but their teammates have already died. We've already gotten the Baron, and now Vladimir dies as well. Now it's Blitzcrank and Lux, the last 2 people standing. Now my whole team are gonna run them down. And now they're taking a ton of damage. Lux goes down. Blitzcrank is now running for his life. Only one left alive. He has nowhere to run. And he dies as well, and the enemy team has completely thrown the game here. Like, number one, you have all 5 members alive, right? Why are there only 2 people on Baron? What are the other people doing, right? Why are they 2 men on Baron? Now, I ward the Baron, and they know I ward the Baron because they have a control ward there, when the Baron's at 7k health. My team is super slow to rotate, but their team is even slower. Where is their team? Like, why are they not helping? And then Pantheon basically gets killed by the Baron, and all we have to do is walk in, one tap him, the jungler is dead, we get the Baron, Kalista is now stuck there, Kalista dies, and then the enemy team all comes in one by one to feed us kills. So we ace the enemy team, we get the Baron, we get a couple of towers, we get a couple of bounties, and now just look at the goal. Just a minute ago, we were 10k gold behind. Now we're even with the enemy team. That is a huge throw by the enemy team. We've gotten a free Baron, we've gotten an ace on the enemy team, we've gotten multiple bounties. I think we've got a bounty on the Baron and 2 towers. Now we've got the dragon as well, denying them the soul, and it's a complete collapse of the enemy team within 1 minute. And now all our waves are pushing into their base, and now they're in deep trouble. Now they did just kill 3 people, so my team is kind of counter throwing here, like my team has just ran into the enemy team and died. But honestly, at this point, the enemy team now has recovered a little bit of their lead. They're now 3k gold ahead of us. But honestly, at this point, I'm thinking the game is super winnable. Like the enemy team just gave us so much gold. I don't see how the enemy team is gonna roll us over now that we've kind of closed the gold gap. And I'm also hitting my item breakpoints now. I have my Black Cleaver completed. I have my first 2 items, and I'm about to complete my 3rd item, which of course in this case, getting the Maw is insane against the Vladimir, who is really carrying, and also insane against the Lux, who's also full AP. So now we have our gargoyles, which we have not really even needed to use yet, right? We haven't been in a low HP situation ever since we've gotten gargoyles, right? So here, another fight breaks out. I'm not really front to backing, but I'm trying to get into position. Just look at it, I'm shredding all of them. My team is finishing off the job. I get a kill here. Vladimir and Lux are the last people standing. Now, I'm not scared. I have a lot of magic resist on me right now. I'm just dashing into their face. I know Vladimir cannot kill me very easily, and I'm just walking at them, right? I'm not scared of Vladimir whatsoever. I'm not scared of Lux whatsoever. I'm just running at them like, come on, fight me. Like I say, I'm just running them down, and Lucian thankfully follows up and gets the kill. Now Lux is trying to go on me. Like I don't even think I needed to cleanse there, but I just did it just so I could run them down. And now the whole enemy team is dead, and we have a wave in mid. So now we are simply going to end the game, and there is a huge insane comeback. And once again, remember, I did the most damage. Look at the stats right after this. So thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.